pre-made mix. It's just not.
It's not the same.
No.
I remember when I was actually, if you come in the next couple of days, I made it yesterday afternoon. So, but my grandson, when I was teaching him how to do it, he's like, I never knew there were so many ingredients in Bloody Mary. So, and we're lucky because back to Billy, he's just an unbelievable bartender. Unbelievable. So he develops all of our stuff like that.
I'll get down there again.
It's such a nice place.
We got to wrap it up here. It's about that time.
It's been so fun.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Why don't you give the address again?
860 Elm Street.
860 Elm Street. Go see Judy. You're not open today.
Nope. That's why I'm here.
That's right. And tomorrow.
We'll be open tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
All right, for lunch.
Yep.
Love that. I love that you're open for lunch because there's not a lot of places down here open for lunch.
Right. Lunch and supper during the week, breakfast on the weekends with lunch and supper on Saturdays.
I love how you call it supper, too.
It is distinctive.
Yep. It's not
Supper
dinner.
time.
It's supper time.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you,
we'll have to do
guys.
it
I
again.
really appreciate it.
We'll be down
I love
soon.
listening to you.
Well, thank you. I know you're in there every day.
Almost every day.
Thank you very much. And we'll be down soon. All right, that's when you got something going on? You want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. You had fun today?
I always have a blast. I love seeing Judy.
All right. Very good. That's going to do it for us, folks. Keep it right here. You got Matt Connaughton Unleashed coming up at 4 p.m. Have a great Monday.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria. For delivery, call 603-782-8450. Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town. 1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Best cocktails around. Come in as friends and leave as family.
You are listening to WMNHLP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA.
Everybody, welcome. Happy Monday. It is that time again. Matt Connerton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Monday, July 24, 2023, and we have a very special guest with us at the news desk. Steve Gamlin is here. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How you doing, Matt?
Very well, very well. Welcome to the show. I almost don't know how to introduce you in the sense that you do a number of different things. But we'll talk about all of it, though. I'm really looking forward to this. We already had a pre-interview unofficially before the show. We were chit-chatting quite a bit, but very interested in getting to know this gentleman better and sharing that conversation with all of you, which we will do momentarily. Also, of course, if you would like to enter the discussion at any point, the studio line is open, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. I'm on social media at Matt Connerton. You can email me, matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is give us a call at 603-250-6007. Jenny is in the Facebook live chat. She is currently at the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport waiting for her flight, which I just got a notification that it was delayed again. So Jenny's, but at least it's a nice low stress airport to have to chill in. But she's in the chat room. She says shalom peeps. Also Melanie La Liberty from the great state of Vermont joins us in there, and Mike from Queen City Cabinetry, one of our great sponsors here at WMNH 95.3. And of course, Mike is also one of our co-hosts on Friday nights on Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. Also, I see Chris H in the chat room from the band Edgewise. But speaking of dulcet tones, so Steve, you're a radio guy.
Former radio guy, yeah.
Former radio guy.
92 to 02.
Well, is it ever really you've still got the voice. You've got one of those voices that I get very, I covet your voice. I'm very envious of. People tell me, sometimes people will be nice and they'll say, oh, Matt, you've got a great radio voice. And I would say, no. I have a good radio voice. But I know people who have great radio voices. I know the difference. You, sir, have a great radio voice.
Well, thank you. The shame of it is I wish I had it when I was actually on the radio. This voice didn't even happen on a microphone until year 8 of my 10-year career because I just didn't have the confidence.
Yeah.
Didn't have the guts to be on the air. Now, I was a copywriter, a production director. I was a rock morning show producer and a comedy writer for most of those years.
Yeah.
But not until our morning guy quit and the owner was going to put us back on satellite did I say, guys, I can do this. I can do the morning show. And in parentheses in my head, I'm thinking, never been on the mic. But out of all that and the struggles of a 5-day audition, just throwing it out at the end and just blah, my own voice came out and just had it ever since.
Yeah, it's a sink or swim. And, we were kind of talking about this off air. I think that's probably a big key to success in life is very often just being willing to kind of put yourself out there and take something on that I have a similar story just briefly. I was in a band called The Jinxed for a long time. And when they first asked me to join the band, I didn't want to do it because I was being asked to join with a very short window of time before I was going to be playing my first show with them. I play the bass. I hadn't even looked at my bass in a long time. I just felt like I was way out of practice, and we're never going to be able to learn these songs in time because they had never played out either. It was a new band, but they had a show in like 2 weeks at a dorm party at UNH, and I was asked to join. And the way it was pitched to me, it was like, Matt, we have like almost no time to practice because everyone has a very busy schedule, and we have to play for like 90 minutes. But what do you say? And everything about it sounded like a bad idea. But the person who was inviting me was a close friend who was so nice. He's one of those, you ever know people they're just so nice that the idea of disappointing them in any way is just terrible. So you say yes to things that you know you probably shouldn't.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I had every intention to say no, and I called him back and I said, okay. And then I got off the phone. I was like, oh no, what have I done? Turned out to be a fantastic decision. Yeah. And so much flowed from that instance of me. That's why I'm always skeptical. You know, some people will say, you know, it's important to know when to say no to things, which I agree with. Mm-hmm. Sometimes life presents us with terrible options we should say no to. But sometimes I just wonder, but what do you do if you're someone who doesn't always trust your own instincts to say no? Because if I had said no to that opportunity that I really at the time thought I should say no to, and I only said yes because I didn't want to disappoint the friend who was asking me. You know, I don't know. I mean, one thing leads to another. I don't know if I'd be doing this radio show today if I hadn't done that. You know, I might be doing something else, not getting to do this. You know, who knows?
Yeah, my whole life is a series of those. When it's screaming no, don't do it. Obviously, whether it's harmful or foolish, or if you're not going to be the head of thoracic surgery at Boston General, even though you said yes, you would do it when you have a background like we have.
Yeah.
But when those opportunities come up and that first thing it's fight or flight, it's do it or don't, and you get that panicked feel in your stomach, but you still say yes, you might be amazed at the opportunities that pop up because all of a sudden your antenna is going to be up.
Right.
And you're going to see and hear opportunities. I mean, that's everything I've done over the past 21 years since blowing my life completely into dust. Has been a series of those, of just saying yes, and then, what do they say? Take the leap and grow your wings on the way down.
I'd never heard that expression, but it makes sense. Yeah. And can you tell us about, because people who are watching us on Facebook are going to be wondering, or on Channel 97, the shirt that you're wearing, it says Got Vision.
Got Vision. Yeah, I'm known as, my brand is the Motivational Firewood Guy as a speaker.
Yeah.
And my main product is a program called Vision Board Mastery. So I teach people how visualization really works. It's not just slapping pictures of a Lamborghini, yacht, Ferrari, mansion, private jet, honkin' jewelry, and a bank vault full of gold bars on a poster board and saying, look, I'm manifesting.
Right.
So I teach people how visualization really works. So I do wear the Got Vision t-shirt.
Okay. Let's compare something, because I talk about visualization a lot. And I don't know if you know this about me. I'm also a hypnotherapist.
Very cool.
So I help people to quit smoking and lose weight and get motivated and things like that. One of the things I do talk about a lot is visualization. And so just as an example with my smoking clients, I tell them this before the session, but I give them the actual hypnotic suggestions, obviously, once I have them in a state of hypnosis. But I tell them, visualize yourself as a non-smoker. Visualize yourself being around other people who are smoking and you not caring that other people are smoking because you're not interested. And what I tell them is, the way the subconscious mind works, the subconscious does not easily distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. So another example is if somebody, actually, this is a better example. If someone comes to me and they say they have a fear of public speaking, which is a very common phobia, as I'm sure you've talked to many people who have that problem. If somebody comes to me with that, one thing I tell them is, we do the session, but I also tell them, listen, here's something you can do on your own outside of hypnosis. Just imagine yourself getting up in front of that group of people and just doing a phenomenal job. Because the subconscious mind, it doesn't easily distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. For example, if you access a memory that's a powerful memory and you really focus on it, you feel all the same feelings you did when that memory actually happened. Maybe not quite as intensely because it's just a memory, but your subconscious mind doesn't necessarily know the difference. So you're feeling all those same things again. So if you train your mind to believe that you are supposed to go and succeed at that, your mind just begins to believe, okay, well, this is what happens. Because in your mind, it's already happened. So go and imagine yourself, visualize yourself in front of that group of people, giving a great speech. And if you keep doing that, your subconscious begins to just believe, okay, that's what's supposed to happen. So when you actually go to do it for real, it just happens because you've already trained your mind. That's what happens. That's just how this works. Your mind thinks it's already happened. So that's kind of how I use visualization with my clients. I'm curious to hear you expand on on how you approach it.
Very similar. What you're doing is you're training your brain. You
Yeah.
are hardwiring yourself to not know if it already existed, if it was real, if it was not real, if it's just imagination. And one of the things I ask people when I first start working with them for coaching, I'll ask, what do your goals look like?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll start to say, I go, hang on. What do they look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? And they always laugh at that one. Like, what does the goal taste like? But in your case, for quitting smoking, how good, like you ask somebody, what's your favorite meal? How amazing is it going to taste when you are 6 weeks out, 6 months out from in now being a non-smoker,
Right.
not quitting smoking, being a non-smoker, becoming the best version of yourself. Ask, what's your favorite food? Okay, we're going to set a lunch date right now. We're going to go together and we're going to go enjoy this. And I'm going to ask you, how does this feel? Was it as good as you visualized it feeling and brought in all your senses? So it's making it real. And a big part of it, just like what you do, it's not what you get visualizing.
Yeah.
It's who you becoming
Right.
the best version of yourself. And once we get into the sensory stuff with some of my clients, it blows their minds. And
Yeah.
It's a blast. A year down the line, when I will rewatch an archived coaching session.
Yeah.
When they had no idea how to answer those. And then they give me all the concrete answers.
Oh, interesting.
In hindsight.
Interesting.
It's cool to watch.
I like what you said too about becoming the. Or how did you put it? The best version of themselves.
It's not just what you get; it's who you become, and
Yeah.
becoming the best elite version of yourself with all the gifts you've been given, plus everything you've worked on.
Yeah, yeah. I do a visualization with. I usually do it. I do it at the end of the session, and I do this with everybody. Well, almost everybody. We do the main part of the session where I, get them to be a non-smoker or get them to be, make better decisions about their eating habits and so forth. But then when we get to the end, I do this thing where I have them imagine looking at an image of themselves, but from the outside of their ideal self, the ideal person, the version of themselves that they most want to be. And then I have them imagine that they're actually walking into and stepping inside that version of themselves and literally in their minds becoming that ideal version of them, free of whatever the bad habit is that they're trying to break or whatever. So, so do you do vision boards with clients or?
I do. Yeah, I started off doing live events open to the public many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult sell, and it's difficult to get people to understand the depth of the work because it turns into a vision board party.
Okay.
I actually have a t-shirt line on the back that says, "Friends don't let friends attend vision board parties."
Yeah.
So I got away from that. I started doing it inside of companies at live events with company teams.
Yeah.
And then some entrepreneurs and individuals and even couples reached out. "Hey, Steve, we can't afford this company rate. Why don't you create an audio program that we can follow, like a product?"
Yeah.
And of course, anytime somebody says, "Did you ever think of doing this?" the standard answer is, "You know what? It's almost done, but we haven't launched it yet." And then I would take out a pen and go, "Create a program for these people."
Right.
So it became actually a 10-step program based on my journey from the early 2000s to the end of the first decade, from blown up life to setting the seeds for everything I have today, including meeting and connecting with the love of my life, creating a relationship in 8 major areas of life. It's not just stuff. It's physical health, emotional well-being, relationships, your core values that guide you, your faith that does the same thing from another direction, your connection to people, your work, and your money. All those categories are working 24/7. So wouldn't it be a good idea to have some sense of where you want to go, even in the course of 1 year?
Yeah.
Don't start with the 20 years from now thing.
Yeah.
You can have long-term goals. What could you get done in a year to get closer to that? Because we're priming the pump here in this first year.
Right.
And it's so foreign to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of what you and I both do freaks a lot of people out at first. So
Yeah.
we've got to guide them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Rosanna McMahon is in the Facebook live chat and says, "Hey, that's my cousin Steve."
That's my cousin. Hello, Rosanna.
Very nice. Also, Melanie La Liberty joins us in the chat. She says, "This show may be a little too upbeat for me, but I will try my best to behave." The Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. Oh, we talked off air about people in the UK. This is our friend Alex Whiteley. He hosts a podcast called the Shrewsbury Biscuit. He says, "What if you visualize something and it just never comes?"
That happens, and it can happen for a number of reasons. Sometimes people don't know what they want. They may see something shiny, but the big question that I ask people, especially when I start working with them, it is step 4 in the program. So it's part of the program. Why do you want it? And if you just say, I don't know, it might be kind of cool, you're not on solid ground yet. But if you can get to an emotionally connected reason why you want something or why you do something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a speaker today because when I was 24 years old in 1992, a friend of mine encouraged me to follow my dream of being on the radio.
Yeah.
When I had no idea how to pursue it.
Yeah.
I did it. I went to broadcast school, got my first internship, summer 92, drove to his house. Hey, man, I got a job at a radio station. How much you getting paid? Well, nothing. Well, that friend passed away 3 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
But he lived long enough to see me get into radio, to follow my dream. Of course, I got the I told you so speech.
Yeah.
When I decided to become a speaker around 2003, 2004, somebody asked me, why are you a speaker? I said, because I had a friend who believed in me when I didn't. And I want to be that friend for other people. So anytime I'm on a stage, I don't care if one person shows up or 1,001.
Yeah.
I know why I'm there. And as scared as I've ever been on stage, which is almost every time I get nervous,
Yeah.
that why keeps me going. And it's helped me to create a speaking career,
Yeah.
a coaching career, programs. I published 4 books. I've got my own podcast, and I've got a regular show on a radio station that streams out of the UK called Yawa Radio.
Awesome.
So it's as you dial it in and understand why, what does it look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, and why does it really appeal to you? The more real you can make it, the better and more solid your steps are going to be. Do some things just never happen? Yes.
Sure.
That's part of life.
Yeah.
Otherwise you get 85 people at the 7-Eleven when Powerball hits $1 billion,
Right.
manifesting $1 billion.
Right. Yeah. How important is it in your view? Because when I talk about this is an element of my personality, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I always say my approach to this particular aspect of things, any motivational speaker will tell me I'm wrong, but I'm curious to get your thoughts. The way my mind works is I tend to not set specific goals, because everyone always says, you got to have specific goals and try to set some sort of a deadline and so forth. And my approach to things has always been, I find things I want to do that I'm passionate about, whether it's doing this or whether it's doing hypnotherapy or the online business that I run, etc. I find things that I'm passionate about, and then I operate under the assumption that if I work really hard at these things and I don't give up on them, I stick with them, they will lead to success. They will lead to more good things, but I don't set specific goals. I never really have. I just say, okay, this is something I'm passionate about. I'm just going to work really hard at it, and I'm going to just assume I'm going to, or maybe trust in the universe, if you want to think of it that way. I'm just going to trust that I will end up someplace good with it. And I don't know why I approach it that way. Maybe it's a way of avoiding disappointment. If I don't set a specific concrete goal, then I'm never disappointed. Or maybe it's just, I've always kind of had this sense of, there's so much randomness to life. There's so much chance. There's so much that we can't control that I just feel safer just kind of saying, I'm just going to go for whatever I want and hope it turns out. Okay. But that's always kind of been my thing. I've never really been good at setting goals. And definitely I don't set any kind of deadlines for myself. Like, okay, by this point I want to be here. I want to have accomplished this. So am I doing it all wrong, or am I just weird and different, and that's okay to be weird and different? What do you think?
There's no set concrete answer out there.
Yeah.
Personal development and motivation are the Wild West. They really are. And of course, some people's stars shine very brightly, and then all of their followers who deify them, Tony Robbins, who I loved Tony's early stuff. I don't particularly care or respond, well to it now, his approach.
Yeah.
But what happens is, if you have something that works for you, go for it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. There's no set rule.
Yeah.
Even what I do and the way I teach it, some people go, oh, no, that's not going to work. You have to do it this way. You have to have SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Why?
Right.
Because you bought the SMART fridge magnet or bumper sticker at the last Tony Robbins event you went to when you were massaging the person next to you, jumping up and down with the thumping music and the lasers. If it works for you, do it and keep doing it. Now, I'm more with the specific end of things, because when I build an action plan, for me, I compare it to an old wooden roller coaster. Like here we are in southern New Hampshire. We've got the old Yankee Cannonball at Canopy Lake.
Yeah.
And I'm just a person who is normally not super organized. But when I set my goals, I know I am at the parking lot level now. And I identify where I am now as well.
Yeah.
The top of that first hill is any one of my goals. And then how do you get there? Click, 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 click. And identify the steps, because I'm a person who has about 1,000 squirrels running around in his head.
Oh, I can relate to that.
I need that specific measurable action plan. And I create tracking systems like the number of miles I want to pedal on the Peloton this year. I've got, one of those thermometer type graphics on my vision board. Every time I hit another 100, I color in that block.
Yeah.
That keeps me going, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So if it works for you, go for it. And don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
How do you deal with, do you ever get frustrated if you have specific action plans and so forth, but if you're not hitting something when you expect to? See, part of my problem too is I always feel like if I set a specific goal for something and then I don't reach that goal in that time period, then I'm going to feel like, I'm a failure. I failed at this. And then I'm going to psych myself out. I mean, how do you deal with that if you have your action plan? I mean, do you put a timetable into your action plan, or do you approach it as more just, okay, this is what I'm going to do and it takes as long as it takes?
I do typically set time constraints.
Yeah.
But if I don't hit it, I'm okay. I don't beat myself up. I don't tear up the goal and say, this was worthless. This was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll ask myself, and I'll be brutally honest. I'll ask myself right in the mirror, did I do the work necessary to get here, to develop the better habits, to be consistent, to build momentum, to build confidence?
Yeah.
And even if I didn't hit the number, it's okay. As long as I'm a better version of myself and I'm getting closer to that. It's kind of like the people at the beginning of the year when they set those New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And they're very vague. They'll write down January 1st, 2023. I want to be happier. I want to be healthier, and I want more money.
Right.
And then the week between Christmas and New Year's of this year, they're cleaning the living room because company's coming, and they see this water paper folded up, keeping the lamp from rocking, and it's got salsa stains on it. And they open it up and they go, I wanted to be happier, healthier, and more money. How did I do? I don't know.
Right.
It's cold out. It's dark. I do set pretty specific things.
Yeah.
And create a way to track to make sure that my behavior at least is moving me in the right direction. But if I don't make it, I'm good with that, which is way better than it used to be. My self-deprecation, I took it to an Olympic gold medal winning skill, and it did not serve me well.
I can relate to that. I struggle with that still today. I mean, I do a lot of meditation, self-hypnosis to keep me on track. But I to this day, I have a problem. It does get out of control where I beat myself up. Jenny knows this. She gets to the joy of witnessing it all. I beat myself down sometimes, and that because I get into this headspace where, okay, on one hand, I didn't set any specific goals, and yet I have this sense that I'm not where I should be with this particular thing, and then I start to, I ruminate. That's what it is, really. I ruminate on mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
Which obviously I know logically is the wrong thing to do. Mistakes are something to learn from, and not to dwell on. But and it's good to reflect on mistakes in the sense that you want to be able to acknowledge what went wrong so you don't repeat the mistake. But I find there's a very, at least for me, there's a very thin line between reflecting on a mistake and ruminating on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big pitfall for me.
Oh, yeah. I used to cross that line a lot. Now, at the time, I was also a stand-up comedian. I had been on the radio. So I could use it in such a way that I would have rooms full of people hysterically laughing.
Yeah.
Problem is, they don't see the wrecking ball swinging back at me, which is what I was doing. And I didn't even realize it at the time. I'm thinking, hey, this is fine. I'm getting laughs.
Yeah.
I held myself back so far for so many years and just kept destroying myself, taking myself out at the ankles over and over and over, that my businesses weren't growing. And a dear friend, my buddy Chris Whitehead, who I had just met, this is around 2010, 2011, invited me to speak all 3 days of a 3-day personal development event he had with a couple of dozen people, small event.
Yeah.
On the third day, I was in a bad mood, I was self-deprecating, and I was running out of material. So I went on this self-deprecating rant for 20 minutes, which I thought was hysterically funny, talking about all the dumbest things I'd ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And at the end, the people left. He pulled me off to the side, staged an intervention. He said, bro, if I ever hear you talk about yourself like that again, not only are we not brothers, you'll never set foot on one of my stages again.
Wow.
Did you listen to yourself up there? I said, no. And I was just leveled. I had already destroyed myself, and now here he is coming at me. And he, with steel toe boots, kicking me in a part of my body my doctor only gets to see once a year. He kicked me so hard that I finally got the lesson. Now, does my brain ever still go to some hysterically funny stuff? Yeah. I just don't say it, and I don't believe it either. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's genius. I got to figure out a way to use this without harming myself.
Yeah.
But I've stopped ruminating on that. That stuff. It's a learned skill, and it takes a lot of time. And sometimes it's just you looking in your mirror saying, don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't go there, because the good stuff's just as real as the bad. I did a podcast over the weekend called Stack Up Your Wins. So if you start thinking of some failures, instantly balance it out with a couple of wins.
Yeah.
You've got your own radio show. I mean, come on. In an industry that's very tough to get into these days, you've got a show, you've had it for years.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That right there can compensate for anything else if you flubbed a word or missed a recording or had a blooper reel moment. Start counteracting it with the wins, because you deserve to be here.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Actually, I think that's really good advice, because that is something I do struggle with when I get into that zone and that mental state. But you said something interesting. So does this affect your approach to, because you also do stand-up comedy?
I did.
Or you did. You don't
from
anymore.
2004 to 2011. And the reason I stopped was somebody had a very good point. I was starting to do corporate speaking.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me after a show, hey, Steve, if the female CEO of a company that was interested in having you speak just came in and heard your act, and my closing bit was a song parody called the Viagra song to the tune of We Will Rock You by Queen.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a dirty comic. I could be adult in nature, but I was not dirty. I was not foul-mouthed.
Yeah.
Said, if that female CEO saw you here, would she hire you to speak to her company? And I said, you know what? Probably not.
Interesting.
Because not everybody can tell the difference or knows. They just think, oh, if he's like that there, he's like that everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So I took all the skills, and I took the very, very clean material from comedy and my style, brought it over to speaking. And if you could be humorous and motivational and positive as a speaker, you can earn more money.
Right. That makes sense. Do you miss it, though?
I miss being on stage. I don't miss the comedy industry, because there's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of depression.
Yeah.
Things I've dealt with over the years with depression and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't miss that part of it. It's very dark art. I was on the more positive end of all the comedians I knew, but still, it was very difficult being around some people knowing that what they were doing on stage to get laughs was them doing their own therapy and getting it out there and purging poison, and knowing from that side of the curtain, some of it was pretty painful, watching people just disintegrate.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of comedians will talk about that. They'll talk about their pain. I mean, a lot of stand-up comedians draw from, if they had a difficult childhood, and drawing material from that and whatnot. I've always thought it would be, that's not a skill set that I have. I mean, I can be funny on the show. I can be, I think the term is situationally funny or contextually funny. I can, I can have a conversation and make jokes on the air and so forth and be kind of, some people think I'm funny. I have an odd sense of humor, so I think some people don't, but, but I've always thought, to me, it would be like a superpower to be able to go on stage and just be funny on command and to just make people laugh. I mean, what could be better than making people laugh, and the immediacy of that? And it just looks like the greatest job in the world, being a stand-up comic.
It's a lot of fun. And even now people say, Steve used to be a comedian, tell me a joke. I don't tell jokes.
Right.
I never did tell jokes. What you hear me doing on stage at a positivity, personal development, motivational type event is pretty much the same structure of what I did for stand-up. I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And it comes down to using your voice, your speed, your high, your low, your fast, your slow, your face, your gestures, your physicality.
Yeah.
To tell a story and connect with people. It's just the funny happens a little more often in stand-up.
Right.
You have to.
Right.
But speaking is the same exact way. If I can get you to laugh and learn at the same time, we're going to hardwire some growth in you. And
right.
It's the basics of the art form are the same. For me anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm just the same on stage, off stage, backstage, standing on the street corner or walking down the Captain Crunch aisle at the grocery store. I've had amazing conversations with people in every one of those places.
Yeah. Well, that's using humor. I mean, that's the best way to pull people in anyway, right? Like I've always thought, if you can, no matter what it is, whether you're trying to help people in terms of a motivational presentation or whether you're talking about politics or whether you're talking about music. I always, I interview a lot of musicians on the show, and when I have musicians on a lot of musicians, because they're creative people anyway, a lot of them also have phenomenal senses of humor, and I always tell them, be funny, because if people are going to be, it sounds odd, but people are going to be more interested in listening to your music if you can make them laugh during our conversation, because you're able to connect with them by making somebody laugh is, I think, establishes a connection almost like no other connection you can establish with a person in terms of building rapport and just really, once you get somebody to laugh, even if, we do a lot of politics on the show, and, even if you're diametrically opposed politically with somebody, if you can make them laugh, they're just going to be more open to you, and they're going to listen more intently to everything that you're saying and really kind of taking it in.
Yeah. And you can weave that behavior, that style, into pretty much any area of life. My family and I have a small nonprofit called Beach Bum Philanthropy, and we're dedicated to doing as many acts of kindness as we can in the simplest ways.
Yeah.
Now, you and I are tall guys, and if we're at a grocery store and there's a little old lady with a carriage there, we're going to be a little intimidating. So I love to play a game I call Shopping Cart Rodeo, which is either rescuing the abandoned carts, or if you see a little old lady who's only got one or two items left, saying from a distance, "Excuse me, would you like me to return that for you?" And then you walk over, and I always say the same thing. "Ma'am, please remove your purse from the carriage by the time I get there, because see all these cameras up here? I do not want them catching you beating me up in the parking lot thinking I'm trying to steal your purse. That would be embarrassing."
Right.
And total strangers.
Yeah.
And it's like we've known each other forever. And they're laughing and I'm laughing. And it's an amazing way to connect with people because we never know where someone else's life is.
Yes.
You could be the person who changes their whole day because they might have been looking for a reason to stay positive or have hope or whatever. And if you can do it just with humor and some kindness at the same time, that was a bad day the first time I did that. This woman was easily in her 80s.
Yeah.
I was 60 feet away with her cart. Her windows were up in her car. I could still hear her laughing.
Oh, really?
And it made my day. And somebody said, "Well, you're like an angel." I'm like, "No, she was the angel.
Yeah.
I was having a bad day."
Yeah.
And I just did this little act of kindness. And for whatever people choose to believe in, I always look up, give a little wink, said, "All right, I know. You put her in my path today. Thank you. Now let's go find another one."
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. We have a question in the chat room. Alex Whiteley, our friend from the UK, he says, "Steve, what advice would you give to someone who who has spent the last 2 years having their confidence and self-esteem battered by constant bad luck.
It happens. You know, somebody, I'll even add another 2 years onto that. Somebody recently, I was on a podcast with a gentleman in Australia, and he said, so how were the last 4 years from you? And I said, oh, you mean 3 deaths in a pandemic? My dad died, my business mentor died, our dog died, and both of my businesses, which are event-based, got demolished.
Oh, yeah.
7 months without earning a dime at the first part of COVID.
Yeah.
It can be very easy, and I'm not saying this to belittle anything that this person is feeling. It can be very easy for us to have that question in our head, great, what else can go wrong? We just need to be very careful and aware of that. And bad things do happen. Oh my gosh. I mean, if bad things happen to great, positive, super friendly, loving, caring, creative people every day.
Yeah.
It comes down to what we focus on. And if we can potentially see a cause behind it, out of our control, we can't control. But if it's something in our heads, if we're saying to ourselves, well, what else could possibly go wrong? What else could wreck my day? What else could ruin my life? And we start to counterbalance that with some gratitude. I for 11 and a half years, have been putting pen to paper every morning and writing down my 3 favorite moments from the previous day.
Interesting. Huh.
Not just saying my health, my job, my whatever, because if you're going to just do that,
Yeah.
it's going to lose its power. You may as well just carve it into a potato and get an ink stamp and just Gutenberg your way through gratitude.
Right.
But when I find those little wins, even the moments, someone held a door for me today. I got to hold the door for someone. I rescued a shopping cart. Oh my gosh, this person wore the coolest hat that I saw, or this person smiled at me.
Yeah.
Or I had this great conversation, or I got to hear these 2 guys on a radio show 5,000 miles away. And it can be anything. So
Yeah.
if it feels like it's steaming downhill to the best of your ability, think of the good, even tiny moments from the day, because they're just as real as the tough stuff.
Yeah.
And it can start in your mirror in the morning. You know, I've got one exercise I do with my clients is, all right, get a little sheet of paper and a pen, write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and leave it in your bathroom. When you get in there in the morning, I want you to look in the mirror, start at the top of your head, work your way down. When you see something about yourself you like, write it down for that day. And people think it's weird. And I say, I'm going to give you the first day. You're going to start at the top of your head. You're going to go all the way down, and you're going to look at your feet and go, well, heck, at least my socks match. Good.
Right.
There's day 1.
Right.
Now, you can't do the socks thing anymore. I've had people on the 3rd, 4th day, Steve, oh my gosh, I have really cool eyes. I have a nice smile. I have dimples. Those are cool. And when you have dimples and you notice they're cool, you smile more, which makes bigger dimples.
Right.
For 7 days, give yourself the gift of identifying something positive about how you look, how you feel, who you are, what you do, where you're at. You know, here's one thing for you in the UK. I think you have an incredible accent.
Yeah.
So there. So I hope that is helpful to understand maybe the movement behind it.
Yeah.
You know, we can let that tide push us like a big, or in the case of winter, a snowball rolling down a hill getting bigger and bigger, and all we're wondering is, how much worse can it get?
Right.
And it's a natural human thing.
It is,
You've
yeah.
got to be aware of it, though.
Yeah, that's something I'm vulnerable to, as well as you know, that catastrophic thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy to, when something goes wrong, it's easy to in the moment really be focused on what's going wrong and lose track of all the things that are going right.
Yep.
So I think that's good advice. Hello to Legion of Solace, who is in the Facebook live chat, as well as our friend JFed from the great state of Vermont. And if you would like to enter the discussion, the studio line is open, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. We're talking with Steve Gamlin on the show with us today. Oh, what do you call motivational firewood? Is that what?
That is my official brand.
Yeah.
As a speaker, and I own the trademark on that.
Okay.
When I first started as a speaker, somebody said, have you heard of the National Speakers Association? And I had not. And
Yeah.
They said, they have a chapter that meets in Boston. And I went down to a meeting. And, of course, I walk in. Everybody else has these nice embossed name badges and lanyards. And I've got the little tag of shame where it says, hi, my name is. And they hand me a Sharpie. So I just write Steve.
Yeah.
Slap it on my chest. Well, a gentleman said, hey, Steve, I'm Dennis. Nice to meet you. Happy to have you here. So what do you speak about? I said, well, motivation and positivity and humor. He says, what makes you different? I said, I want to motivate people. He goes, Steve, we all want to do that.
Right.
What makes you unique? And God love him, he had the patience of a saint. About 5 minutes in, I finally, after stumbling for answers, said, Dennis, you know what? If people pay to come hear me speak, it means they may have a spark of something in their heart that they want to do with their lives, but they don't know how to do it. And if I share a tip, a tactic, a strategy, a lesson, a story that gives them an idea of what they can do and helps them believe in themselves, and then they go do something with it, I said, it's kind of like I handed him a piece of motivational firewood. And he snapped his fingers and he goes, now that, young man, that's different and unique and it's cool. He goes, it's a great name. Learn about trademarking it. But you know what I love the most? I just watched your face light up when you said that. And I said, that felt really good.
Yeah.
So I've been the motivational firewood guy ever since. And
Okay.
every few years, I got to re-up the trademark, and every few years, I send them a check, and I still own the name.
There you go. There you go. Jenny just shared in the chat room to your website, stevegamlin.com.
Thank you.
And when people go there, what can they expect to find?
Some positivity and people who can probably, or a person who can probably very well relate to what they're going through. I am, if nothing else, my two most important things, being authentic and being vulnerable. And, well, we'll add three, and real.
Yeah.
Authentic and real.
Yeah.
I've been through it. Everything I speak on, everything I write, the Vision Board Mastery Program, everything is a chronicle of what I've been able to do over the past 21 years to put my life together, because I literally destroyed it. And if you're old enough to get the reference, think Wile E. Coyote, Acme rocket roller skates, going off a cliff and hitting the canyon floor. I blew up my radio career. My first marriage ended. I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt at age 35 without a full-time job.
Yeah.
And luckily, my family is amazing. I had a safe place to land and slowly put it all back together with some more of those angels that appeared in my life.
Yeah.
The weirdest moments, you would never think a $3 bucket of golf balls in a thunderstorm under power lines would change my life forever, but it did.
Okay, well, now I have to know. What happened?
At the lowest of the low, in a very self-deprecating mood,
Yeah.
it was August of 2003, and where the Market Basket is over in Bedford now used to be a mini golf driving range. And I was driving by, I had $3 left in my pocket that week, and decided to just take out my frustrations on a bucket of golf balls.
Yeah.
And so I picked the farthest tee box on the property because I didn't want to dent anyone's car in the parking lot or hit anybody on the mini golf course.
Yeah.
And I was underneath these gigantic steel power lines. It's August 03, humid, and a thunderstorm comes through. And I was so down on myself. I was the only person who didn't run from the storm.
Yeah.
So I took my shoes off, so I was barefoot in the wet grass with a golf club, hitting a bucket under the power lines. And at one point, I just held the club up and I just said, I dare you. Take me out. Go ahead. And I was just being sarcastic, kind of like, if you remember Forrest Gump,
Oh, yeah.
when Lieutenant Dan was up in the crow's nest in the
Yes,
hurricane, just
yes.
screaming, is that all you got? Come
Yep.
on, blow.
Yep.
That was my Lieutenant Dan moment.
Yeah.
So I hit my bucket and the buckets of two guys who ran from the storm and never came back. So after an hour, I couldn't even lift my arms.
Yeah.
I got to my car and the sun came out and it stopped raining.
Yeah.
And I just started laughing. I thought that was so funny. And the next day I was on a call with a brand new life coach who says, hey, how was your week? And I said, put down your pen and listen to this. And I told him the story of that hour.
Yeah.
I made it as funny as I could, super self-deprecating, but
Yeah.
as funny as I could.
Yeah.
And when he stopped laughing, which is something a coach shouldn't do when your life stinks, he asked, have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be great at both.
Ah.
And I said, yeah, since I was 11, but I have no idea how to pursue either one. He said, you're not going to believe this, but in the junk mail on my desk, because I didn't throw it away yet, there's a brochure for a local community college that has a stand-up comedy class that starts in 2 weeks. Will you go?
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. And I went. You ever heard of Toastmasters? Kinda. There's a chapter that's 2 towns away from where you live. That's one of the most award-winning chapters in the state. I think you should go and just sharpen your tools.
Yeah.
And that conversation is why I'm where I'm at right now. And
Wow.
his name, as well as the friend who got me to pursue radio, they're both named Daniel.
Oh, really?
And I
Yeah.
recently looked up when a podcast host asked, what does the guardian angel Daniel signify? I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Delivers eloquence, confidence, help you share message. He's the patron saint of artists.
Huh.
Everything I've done because of two people named Daniel directly related to the mission of the guardian angel Daniel.
Yeah.
You know, if you choose to believe in that stuff, I mean, I read it and was just in awe of what it said. It perfectly explains everything.
And so your motivational speaking and your stand-up comedy career effectively started at the same time then.
Exactly the same moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The two of the four I hadn't done yet because my first book had just come out at that time. So I did the radio DJ and the author thing.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy and teacher of people, but not in a classroom, became speaking.
Okay. I have to ask you this because you said you blew up your radio career. I'm a radio nerd. I love radio war stories. I don't know how much you want to say about it. So if it's not something you want to talk about, but if you're open to talking about it, I'd love to hear the story.
Oh yeah. Yeah. my first 2 years of radio, 1992 to early 94, were at a station called WCGY, which was 93.7 just north of Boston.
Yeah. I remember CGY. Yeah.
They sold the station. We all got fired. I landed at Rock 101 WGIR in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
I was the morning show producer, Silent Steve on the Baxter in the Morning Show for 3 years. Radio station got sold. We all got fired.
Yeah.
And I had just won the biggest award the station had ever won.
Oh, really?
For a comedy bit that I wrote out of all radio stations.
Oh, wow.
United States, Canada, Mexico, and the UK. Comedy bit that I wrote won.
Wow.
And I still got fired because they got sold.
Yeah.
And I landed in the Lakes region for 4 years. We built up a classic rock station. Somebody came in one day and said, "Hey, Steve, Scott, the owner, is going through a divorce. He might have to sell the radio stations." And I snapped.
Really?
I was exhausted. I worked 15 years worth of hours in 10. I was exhausted. My marriage was showing signs of cracking.
Yeah.
I was fried. I owned a DJ business, so I was DJing all weekend, pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
And working 60 hours a week, an hour and a quarter from home.
Oh, wow.
And I just snapped.
Yeah.
And I just handed in my notice and quit. And then my marriage fell apart. And then I was tens of thousands in debt. I'd just taken out a $30,000 line of credit to build my recording studio.
Yeah.
My first one.
Yeah.
And blew it all up.
Oh, wow.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
That approach, while it worked for me, in the long run, I mean, that scarred me for a long time because I caused it. I couldn't blame anybody else.
What was it? Just a matter of you just ran yourself into the ground, so that one thing, because you weren't even being because in that instance you weren't even being told that you were getting fired or anything. You were just being told that it might happen, right?
Yep.
But you just were so. It sounds like you were just so just burned out, just classic burnout, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely fried. And there's some interpersonal stuff happening at that radio group where, you know, people of a certain level they don't like each other because each one thinks that the other person's getting favored or whatever, and egos step in. And I had one just like anybody else. I was very protective of my property.
Yeah.
But inside the building, you've got your allies and your perceived enemies.
Right.
And I was fighting with a couple of other people constantly. And I just said, well, here's the way out. And I just bailed.
Wow. No kidding.
Don't recommend it.
Yeah.
I do not recommend that approach for people. Matter of fact, somebody said the other day to me in a direct message on Facebook, "Yeah, Steve, I'm thinking of chucking it all and doing what you did and starting over." And I said, "Let's get on a Zoom call." Let me tell you the potential repercussions of that.
Right.
Do I regret doing it now? No, because it put into motion everything I'm doing now, and also discovering the absolute love of my life. And everything happened. You know, I don't regret all of those things.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Because of what I've been able to create from the ashes of that.
Right.
So,
right.
For me, it worked.
And tell me about, so you're also an author.
Yes.
And you had written books or a book prior to when you started your stand-up and your motivational career. You said you were already an author at that point?
I was, because I had my DJ business.
Yeah.
I've been DJing weddings at that point for a number of years, since the fall of 1993 is when I started with a friend's company. And then within a year, I had my own.
Yeah.
It was a collection of short stories about the most bizarre things I'd survived.
Really?
As a wedding DJ. It's called Table 7, Your Centerpiece is on Fire.
Oh.
And a dear friend of mine wrote 3 chapters, and I had 13 of mine. So that was my very first book. The other 3 books are the personal development, positivity stuff. But that one was written at the lowest point of my life, and it was very well received. And a reviewer called it required reading for nervous brides.
Oh, no
so
kidding.
he did me a big favor with that review, and it sold a pretty decent amount of copies.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Isaac Banks is our friend from one of our friends from Greensboro, North Carolina, was asking in the chat room who your favorite comedian is.
My favorite comedian, I've got several for different reasons. I love Robin Williams.
Yeah.
For his ability to just be energetic and be able to take anything around him and create material with it.
Oh, yeah.
And I love some of the storytellers. What's his name from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour? Ron White.
Oh, yeah.
I love Ron White's approach.
Me too.
I really do. Of all the blue collar guys, he was always my favorite.
Me too. Oh, I always thought he is on a completely different level than the other three.
Yeah.
By far. We have a call. Louis is on the line. Hello.
Is this Matt Connerton?
Yes, it is.
Hey, listen, remember what I told you about Mike last week? He's got a horse named after his son running right now at Finger Lakes in New York. Matt Doyle, number 8. Everyone's down on this horse, very heavy.
Uh-huh.
He's 6-5. He's a huge favorite. I got to go watch the race now, but he owns this horse. Name of the horse is Matt Doyle.
Matt Doyle.
The 8th race at Finger Lakes. I got to go now and watch the race.
All right. Good luck to Matt Doyle. All right. That was Louis Angelides, I think is how you say his name.
Nice.
Interesting. So now we talked about it off air, but a little bit, but we talked about Tony Robbins, but do you have, I mean, it might be an odd question, but as a motivational speaker, are there other motivational speakers who have kind of influenced you, much like, say, certain stand-up comics might influence you, or if you're a musician, musicians might influence you. Are there motivational speakers who have influenced you?
Definitely. Jack Canfield was always a favorite of mine because Jack is the same on and off stage. He's just one of those people. He's a storyteller, but he's very matter of fact. And I'm not into the rah 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 buy my stuff speakers anymore.
Yeah.
The lasers, the fog, the thundering music, and all of that,
Right.
jumping up and down.
Right.
Not into that. Jack Canfield was always a favorite. Ed Milet is somebody I respect a great deal.
Yeah.
And also Mel Robbins. I love because she's a lot like what I am.
I know. Yeah.
Very in your face, matter of fact. Here's this, try this.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just very direct. I'm not into the very woo-woo type of speakers.
Yeah.
Although when I do the visualization work, people go, that's too woo-woo for me. I said, well, look, the way I explain it, it's blue-collar woo. Because that's my background. I'm a blue-collar, work ethic, and valued guy.
Right.
I will teach you how you can construct it with your hammer and your nails and a little piece of wood, how to build what I'm talking about without being all woo-woo about it. So those are 3 of my favorites. And I've gotten away from the big thundering, over-the-top motivational stuff.
So the Tony Robbins
it's just not my cup of tea anymore.
Yeah,
I just don't respond to it like his earlier stuff. And then, of course, you get the people that go, well, Steve, if Tony invited you to be on one of his stages, you'd say no? No, I'd say yes.
Of course.
And he would announce me, and I'd come out, and I'd say, Tony, thank you so much for having me here. Do me a favor. I'd like the house lights halfway up. DJ, please turn off the music. Get rid of that fog. Lasers off.
Yeah.
And I would walk out, and I would sit on the front of the stage with my legs dangling, and have an intimate conversation with 25,000 people about why I became a speaker and why I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would be how I would respond to that. And I would just go out and be me.
See, as a Kiss fan, I like the lasers and the pyro and everything.
I'm a big Kiss fan, believe me.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
The first decade, the
Nice.
original guys, but the show. I mean, that for me is where all the magic happened.
Yeah. I love all eras of the band, but no, we were kind of talking off air too about, and I don't know if anyone listening. I read a couple of Tony Robbins books early on. I was a fan, and I used to kind of get a kick out of those back in the days of late night infomercials, and maybe they still run. I don't know, on cable television, but
I became a customer.
I used to kind of get a kick out of those, but if you go on YouTube, and I don't think he's always done this, but he swears a lot.
Yeah.
And it comes across as very cringe because like he's dropping all these F-bombs and it's like, is he trying to, the cringe part is it seems very forced. Like he's trying to be edgy because he thinks that that's how you pull people in. But he does it so much. It's like, oh God, like why? You know?
Yeah, I saw him live 2000, I believe, January of 2000 down in Boston.
Yeah.
It was one of those all-day events where he gets all his buddies, everybody gets 45 minutes, and 10 minutes into their presentation, they're just selling their stuff anyway.
Yeah.
And that was the time right about when he started to really get over the top with the swearing and stuff. And look, I don't, swearing doesn't necessarily bother me.
Oh, it doesn't offend me. I just think it's cringe when he does it to
it's just not
excess.
something I respond to when I'm trying to put my life together in a certain way.
Yeah.
That's a bit over the top, and it did seem forced as well.
Yeah.
And the danger of that is, and I know this firsthand because a dear friend of mine, one of my biggest, most loyal speaking clients, attended an event. She drove all the way up into Vermont to support a friend of hers who was starting to do speaking.
Yeah.
And he went into a room, it was about 60% women and 40% men.
Mm-hmm.
And he started doing basically his Tony Robbins impression. And this is real estate people. And he's swearing and cursing and stomping and all that. And he drove all the women out of the room within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And my friend went to him during the break and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, this is great. It's powerful. I saw Tony Robbins do it, so I thought I would do it too." And she goes, some of the ladies left skid marks leaving the parking lot, because it's not authentic to him. Now, if that's authentic to Tony now, hey, fine. More power to you. Do it. I mean, you're a billionaire. You don't mind my opinion.
Right.
But I would never get on a stage and try to be something I'm not because people can tell when it's forced.
Yeah. I kind of have it's interesting too that you tell me about how it drove the women off, because I have I've been like this my whole life. Well, I don't swear much to begin with. I mean, I'm not offended by it. Now I'll drop an F-bomb at an appropriate moment, but some people, like I've been around a lot of people who, they use the F word like a comma just in conversation, and it's like, okay, you do realize that you're saying it so much, after a while it doesn't mean anything. Like South Park did an episode about that with the S word. Where it's, if you use it so much, after a while, it's like, what's even the point? What's the point of swearing when you use it so much? It doesn't mean anything. But I've always had a rule too. And I think my dad might have kind of instilled this in me. I generally, or very rarely do I swear in front of women. I was kind of just raised with that. Like, it's one thing if you're around dudes, and I hope nobody takes this wrong and thinks I'm being sexist, because I don't mean to be. It's out of respect. Because I have so much respect for women, and I think it's important. I think to be a real man is to be respectful to women, and so I certainly don't mean anything sexist by it, but I very rarely do I swear around women. I just think it's women and children. You just don't children obviously, but it's like, and when I hear, like when I'm out in public and I hear somebody swearing, I mean, you shouldn't be, if you're in a store or something, you shouldn't be dropping F-bombs anywhere where other people can hear you, because you never, you don't know what somebody's sensitivities might be. And I'm kind of a stickler. I'm unfailingly polite generally anyway, but especially like when I hear a dude like dropping F-bombs and there's women around, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's very uncouth. I don't know how else to say it, but you know what I mean? And so to get on stage and do that, unless it's a stand-up comedy show. If it's a stand-up comedy show and it's a comic who works blue, obviously the women in the audience know that going in. So that's fine. I don't want anybody to think, oh, Matt doesn't think Chris Rock should be swearing in front of women on stage. No, I'm not saying that. But I can imagine though, these women at this, that's Tony Robbins, and they're having to listen to that.
Yep.
That's got to be pretty jarring.
Yeah. And I've always been a person where I would rather use my creativity. Now I could be adult in nature, like I said, back when I did stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I could be adult in nature, but it was never offensive.
Yeah.
And somebody came up one time and said, "Steve, you didn't swear the whole time." Like, yeah, I mean, that's part of the thing for me. I may drop one, not real bad one here and there.
Yeah.
And then the person started laughing and goes, "But you're funny as hell, man. You paint pictures with words."
Yeah.
Like, you very cleverly said what those other guys said by dropping F-bombs.
Right.
Like, you got clever with it and painted a picture and let us go with it where we chose to go. And I would rather be clever. if you go back to the movie Spinal Tap, it's a fine line between stupid and clever.
It's one of my absolute favorite films.
But it's true.
Yeah.
If you put that little bit of extra effort,
Yeah.
and you can go right to the edge and maybe lean over it, but your foot doesn't cross it with the obvious.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's lower class, but the lowest common denominator way. And even as a speaker, I do that. Some people may just be rah, 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 jumping up and down, getting people to yell. I can do it just leaning off the front of the stage, paint a picture, and being in more control of who I am and not just getting caught up in energy.
Yeah.
I'd rather be able to keep it high, low, fast, slow, and paint a picture and then reel them in at the certain spot with that. Within a tenth of a second of exactly the right amount of timing, you look somebody in the eye and they nod, and they don't even know they're doing it. And you go, okay, there's one connection. Let me find somebody else.
Yeah.
That to me is much better and more impactful than just rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
Getting that mass hysteria going.
Yeah.
With sometimes, maybe the lowest common denominator shock value type of word.
Well, when you speak quietly to people too, or if you do that, you go high, you go low, you go high, as a hypnotist, I understand this as well. But, you can really pull people in, and it's the old actor's trick too. You speak quietly and then people, they're forced to pay more attention to you, and obviously I use that too in hypnosis, but, yeah. So, do you, when you get up and speak in front of people, how long is that? Do you do, or does it vary? It probably varies depending on the kind of event, right?
It varies. I used to just tell people, however long it is, I'll fill the time.
Yeah.
The sweet spot for me is generally 45 to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
For a keynote presentation. That's my sweet spot.
Yeah.
I am a sprinter, not a long distance runner.
Yeah.
I know people who can do all day trainings. Oh my gosh, staple my shoes to the floor, please.
Right.
That's not my sweet spot.
Yeah.
And as my career has grown, I've gotten much more open and honest right up front. Look, this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how I dress. You can see me today. I'm wearing jeans and a black T-shirt that says "Got Vision." This is what I wear on stage now.
Yeah.
And I just tell people, this is who I am. If I'm a good fit, great. And ever since I set those boundaries, things have gotten better. Open and honest about what I say, what I don't. Some people say, Steve, we need you to talk about this topic. I don't talk about that topic. Somebody asked me to come to a bullying conference once for teens, and they said, we need you to speak on bullying. I said, you do not want me to speak on bullying. They said, why not? I said, because my personal belief is it's okay to punch a bully square in the face, and when they're on the ground bleeding, you explain to them bullying's wrong, and then you help them up. And the director of that event goes, yeah, we can't have you say that.
Right.
I'm like, ta-da, I told you. That's not what you want me, this is probably not the message you want.
Right.
I wasn't bullied severely, but I had a bully for a little bit when I was a kid. And there was one day that I basically, went at him.
Yeah.
And we became friends after that.
Yeah, that can, well, yeah. If you stand up to people, they'll respect you more.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Melanie said something funny in the chat. She said, I'm now envisioning him swearing, ha, look who's using your weapons against you now.
I'm not saying I never swear.
Yeah,
I'm just more appropriate than ever before. And I will ask people, what's the temperature of the room?
Yeah.
And that's all. It's just to know what to do. But it's so much more fun to paint pictures with words. And some of my favorite lines to deliver ever on stage are actually in a loud whisper on a microphone.
Really?
Where everybody leans in and then I say it. And then when they get the picture, they crack up.
Yeah.
I could have just done it with a swear, but do it that way.
Right.
And just try to be more engaging.
Yeah. Alex Whiteley says, Steve, do you have to get all the bad juju out before you go on stage? So I guess,
Yes.
Is there a mental process you go through?
It's important. A lot of times for me, it comes down to music. I'll have a certain song in my head, or I'll play it in my AirPods or something before I go on stage.
Yeah.
Or in my Tina. I always call her my Tina. But if I just say Tina, people go, you didn't say my Tina. Is something wrong?
Yeah.
So my Tina, my wife Tina, will text me 5 to 10 minutes before I go on stage. And she goes, hey, baby, I'm thinking about you. I know you're going to be awesome today. Go do a great job. That lights me up. so much that it gets rid of anything else. I'm riding that energy. And if she's not available or I don't have a cell signal and can't get a text from her, I will listen to a song or something that gets me in a good mood, or I'll go watch a funny YouTube video.
Yeah.
Or something right before I go on. So I'm in that emotion. And people ask, they go, Steve, don't you ever get nervous? And I always say, look, I only get nervous every time. The first 90 seconds for me can be the most nerve-wracking time on stage because I need to get a laugh. In that first 60 to 90 seconds, and I'll always jump in with something either tied to the theme of the event or the name of the company or something.
Yeah.
To get a laugh and make the first connection.
Yep.
And as soon as I get it, it's on.
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I just keep working harder and harder, gauge the crowd, change my approach.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, I don't just go up and read the same script all the time. It's establishing connection early on.
Yeah.
And then flowing from there.
Our friend Alfredo Enrique Benavides, also known simply as Fredo, very talented musician. He's in the chat room. He says, Dewey Cox thinks about his entire life before he goes on stage. Have you seen that movie? That's such a great.
I just saw a part of it recently.
Oh, it's so
Walk
good.
Hard.
Walk Hard. It's such a great. That is
Love
such a great
that movie.
film.
It's very funny.
It
and
is.
The characters and the writing are brilliant in that movie. So thank you for that. It's a good laugh.
That was an excellent reference, Fredo. Oh boy, Melanie said something I don't even want to read on the air. By the way, have you always been a natural extrovert, or is that
okay? I am a hardwired introvert. Who
interesting?
Most people don't believe it, but it is true. I am relatively quiet. Tried to be an extrovert for years.
Yeah,
and just felt so fake with it. And now I come out and play, and I go right back to just my quiet life.
I am exactly the same way.
Yeah.
People are surprised because, people, if I tell people that about me, people who don't know me very well, they say, but how do you do a radio show? Or, I used to play in bands. How did you get up on stage and play in bands and stuff? And what I explain to people, and, this is, as this is common with introverts, is we tend to be more comfortable in a performance setting. Like behind a microphone, this is where I actually feel the safest. I feel much safer here, or on a stage playing in a band, or public speaking, which a lot of people are terrified by. I have no problem. Any kind of performance type thing, being on television, whatever it is, that's where I feel the safest. Much more so than, like, I don't go to parties. Even in high school, I didn't like doing that. It's not that I'm antisocial or anything like that. I'm more comfortable in some sort of performance setting than I am in just, normal interactions with people. I'm horrible at making small talk with people. That's like my worst thing. Like if somebody, if I run into somebody I haven't seen in a while and they say to me, like, my least favorite question to ever be asked is when someone says to me, "So what's new with you?" Like, something inside of me sinks when I hear those words. It's like, oh God, because then I feel this pressure, like, oh, I have to respond with something interesting, but I don't have anything interesting. So I'm just going to say, oh, not much. Which a lot of the time isn't even true. I probably do have interesting things going on. I just don't feel like explaining it all to this person who I'm having this brief interaction with, and then we're just going to go about our way. I don't even, like, it's almost like I don't even want to put in the effort to have that conversation, because to me it's just performative, and it's like, I'm that kind of introvert. I hate small talk. Even meeting you outside, we didn't have small talk. You notice that? Like, because, so the audience doesn't know this, but I ran into you on the street, and I knew it was you right away because of your shirt. And so I introduced myself, and like, we got right into, I don't know what I don't even remember what we talked about, but we went right into an interesting conversation. You know what I mean? There was no, like, I don't know. It wasn't chit chat. It was an actual conversation right from the moment we met.
Yeah.
And that's what I prefer, because I can't do the whole, Yeah. Oh boy, the weather. It sure is hot. I can't do it.
Yeah. And I was big in networking for years. I was a member of BNI, Business Networking International. I was the lead trainer for the state of New Hampshire. I was one of the assistant directors.
Yeah.
And I cringe now when people say, "Hey, Steve, we're going to a networking event."
Yeah.
Now, I was the dancing monkey for many years, center of attention, funny guy, all that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really me, and I was not comfortable in that skin. So I developed a question that I would ask people at networking events.
Yeah.
They'd come up and say, "So, Steve, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I have a question for you. Who was your favorite person you got to help this week? Or what was your favorite pain you made go away for somebody?"
Yeah.
And we would instantly have these incredible conversations because they'd say, well, we had this person come in with this, and all of a sudden I'm watching them relive the joy of helping somebody.
Yeah.
And then they would ask me, "So what do you do?" And I'd just look at them and go, "This."
That's
have conversations like this.
Yeah.
That flipped the switch for me with regard to networking.
That's smart.
It made it purposeful and real. And I got to have some really good conversations because I'm not a big fan of the idle chit chat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's painful to me. It's like physically painful. So I'm going to try to adapt that strategy. We have a caller. Our friend Ron is on the line. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Matt. What's new? What's up with you?
Oh God, you're killing me. Nothing's newer up with
hey,
me.
Listen, I caught the show a little bit on the tail end.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could reintroduce your guest and what he's all about, and I'll leave it as that because I am curious. So far from what I've been listening, but I have no idea. This guy could be a nuclear scientist or however or whatever. I just don't know. So I wonder if you could get me up to speed.
Oh, okay, Ron. I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll do that immediately.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. I actually, honestly, as a radio guy, I should be much better about that anyway. Sometimes I have this habit of, I almost run the show more like a podcast than a radio show. It's a bad habit that I have. I think it's because I started out podcasting. But yes, this is nuclear physicist Steve Gamlin. No, he's...
I am the last guy you want in charge of technology like that, especially something that could, end the world.
Right.
If technology was left up to me, believe me, we'd still be running from dinosaurs and trying to discover fire.
No, but I'll let you would do a better job than I would. Go ahead and for Ron and listeners just joining us, tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Steve Gamlin. I enjoy life as a professional speaker, blending motivation, positivity, and humor. Do a lot with visualization to help people to see what their goals are and how to build an action plan to get there. And I also get to do some fun things like write books, and other professional speakers actually pay me to make their material funnier. That's one of my favorite parts of what I do. It's the smallest pillar under the business, but it's a great deal of joy. And I do voiceover work as well.
Yeah. Well, the first time I heard your voice was that birthday message to Jenny.
That's why I'm here.
Which was very cool.
And perfect. We talk about opportunities and little things.
Yeah.
Because a week ago, I got on the microphone in my studio and sent a message to my Facebook friend, Jenny.
Yep.
Who I don't think I'd ever have a conversation with before.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. So we talk about taking those actions and putting things out there, even if we don't know. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were connected.
Yep.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. So thank you.
Absolutely. If you'd like to enter the discussion, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Oh, wow. It's already, we're a bit past the top of the hour. Are you okay, or do you need to go?
I'm good.
You stay a little bit longer?
I'm good, sure.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, Jenny just said in the chat room, Matt and I were talking about that. You are a great guest. Yeah, can you tell me, too, about, this is something I saw in your bio, or it might have been in something else that you had sent us, something about, and I hadn't thought about this in a long time, but The Secret, and I've seen the DVD a long time ago when The Secret came out, and for people who don't remember, oh, Jenny says, my plane broke, LOL, delayed again. Oh, that sucks. Well, at least Manchester's a nice airport. But I remember the DVD coming out. What was that? That like middle 2000s?
It was 2004, 2005, because I had it as well.
Okay. And I remember watching it, and I remember thinking at the time, I think they're giving out I think this is a bad idea in one sense, in that I don't believe that you can just, wish really hard for something and it's just going to come to you. And by the way they present it there, and I know there's a book too, which I've never read, but I did watch the DVD just out of curiosity. And I think the other thing too, I noticed with it at the time, see, I'm something of an anti-materialist. I don't, material possessions, expensive things don't, unless they have a purpose, a practical purpose, they don't really turn me on. So, when they're talking in this DVD about, if you visualize the Lamborghini you want, and then eventually you'll have it, it's like, I don't really care about having a Lamborghini. So what does this do for me? So I didn't like it. It had a very materialistic element to it.
Mm-hmm.
On the positive side, I do believe that the energy that you put out is what you give back. So if you put positive energy out into the world, you're more apt to get positive energy back. Whether you want to think of that in terms of it being a metaphysical thing, or maybe it's not metaphysical. Maybe that's just how life works. For example, if you're nice to people, they're more likely to be nice to you in return. If you're mean to people, they're more likely to be mean to you. So that can work in different ways. There are different ways to think about it, but the whole energy thing as a broader concept, I do believe is basically true.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they presented it, I was like, it's almost like they're trying to pull you into some sort of a multi-level marketing scheme, the way they're, visualize the mansion that you want and eventually you'll have it. It's like, what kind of, this is actually kind of terrible in a way. But the secret came up in something that you had sent me. So I was curious to get your thoughts on it.
Very similar to everything you just said, because
Really?
I also did not have the book. I had the DVD and I watched it a lot. And when I first got it was when my life was still kind of in the ashes.
Yeah.
I made a point to watch it every Sunday night for about 8-9 weeks in a row.
Really?
And out of the 98 minutes of the DVD, the thing that rubbed me the wrong way the most is they had a genie in a magic lamp that kept popping up and said, "Your wish is my command." And I'm thinking, it's not that easy. Now, your energy can increase the odds that similar energy will come back.
Yes.
It increases the odds. There's no cut and dry black and white guarantees here.
Yeah.
Out of the 98 minutes, 2/3 of the way through, this guy, John Assaraf, comes on, who I'd never heard of prior.
Yeah.
And he talks about these things called vision boards. And he didn't teach of how to make one. He just said you find pictures of things you want to have, you put them in a place where you can focus on them on a regular basis. That's really all he said.
Yeah.
But what it turned out was he was actually living in the exact house that he had put on his vision board years prior.
Really?
And also he had material stuff on there as well. And like you said, a lot of it was all the material-based stuff.
Yeah.
Which, we'll pull the curtain on my industry. All those videos you see with the Lamborghinis and the mansions, the yacht, a lot of those rented for the videos.
Oh, of course. Just like, just like
no
you see
furniture
online.
in the mansion, and it's echoing for days.
Right, right,
it's empty. It's a shell of a mansion. All our furniture's getting cleaned right now. As my car's getting towed away.
Right.
And the real owner of the yacht is sailing.
Yeah.
But that's I also believe that to be the truth. So I took from it what I took from it, meaning the right energy, have a clear vision of what you want. And I just kept going deeper and deeper into all the 8 areas of life, into taking consistent action. It's not wishing for a genie. How many people do we see say, "I want to be a millionaire," and they're sitting on their couch watching Powerball go from 200, 300, 400 to $1 billion. And they're going, I want to be rich. I want to be rich. I want to be rich. And I said, "What are you doing?" They go, "I'm manifesting." No, you're not. Your butt cheeks and your couch cushion need to get a divorce.
Yeah.
You need to walk all the way to the store or drive and actually buy a ticket for it to even potentially happen.
Right.
And the problem is too many people think thinking or wishing is manifesting. And it's not. Manifesting means, in my opinion, to cause to make happen.
Right.
You're making it real.
Right.
Which means you have to take the actions
Exactly.
to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. Alex Whiteley in the chat room says they did a great episode about vision boards on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Did you see that, Steve?
I did not.
Yeah.
I think I've seen every other vision board related thing in the world because my friends all send them to me
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, look, it's that stuff you talk about."
Fredo said, "How about neutral energy? I give meh and receive meh in return." Well, I think that's probably what a lot of people do, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of the middle ground. I think that's where a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Is just in that, there are some people that see me come in and smile or be happy, and it's too much for them.
Really?
And I'll dial it back. They're not used to it.
Yeah.
One of the things we love to do with Beach Bum Philanthropy is maybe pay for the groceries of the person behind us if there's only a couple of items. Well,
Yeah.
I used to be over the top going, "Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm from a group called Beach Bum Philanthropy, and I'm going to pay for your groceries." That was a big mistake, and I watched the pride fall out of this one woman's face because she felt pitied.
Oh.
And I shook my head and I said, "I'm so sorry." And she just held her hand up. "I'm all set."
Oh, wow.
And so I developed an approach to it to just be a little more gentle.
Yeah.
And say, "Excuse me, my name is Steve, and I'm from a group called Beach Bum Philanthropy, and we're a nonprofit. And we each have to commit an act of kindness every day." And at this time, it was 10 minutes of 7 at night. I was supposed to be home at 6.
Yeah.
And here it is, 10 minutes of 7. I'm going to get an ingredient we needed for dinner at 6. So I said, "Look, I haven't done my act of kindness yet. It's almost 7 o'clock. And whoever doesn't do an act of kindness has to wash dishes after dinner. I don't like washing dishes. So if you would just let me pay for those couple of items, I can skate free and not have to wash a single dish tonight." And the gentleman looked at me, and he looked at the young lady at the register. She goes, "It's okay. We know his family. He's not being weird." And he said, "Okay." It was $3.97.
Yeah.
And he held his hand out, and I shook his hand, and he looked up at me, and he said, "My wife just passed away a couple of weeks ago, and she used to do all the groceries, so I'm feeling kind of lost here."
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, ooh. And I shook his hand. I said, "Sir, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm so honored to have had this conversation, and I wish you the best."
Yeah.
And I walked out of the store, and at the time we were living right up the street from the store, and I walked in, and my wife looks at the clock, and I said, "I got a great story."
Yeah.
I said, "I was supposed to be at Hannaford. I was supposed to be 50 minutes late for dinner because I just got to help this gentleman."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Wow, you went the long way around for that one." She goes, "Good thing he showed up." But see, it wasn't over the top. It was just, it's kind of meeting somebody where they're at and going 5% above.
Yeah. Yeah.
And gently raising their temperature to be a part of the moment. I mean, the man was almost crying. The young lady at the register was.
Oh, wow.
And I got emotional in that moment too. And I mean, I just got to relive that again. And
Yeah.
can't see it on the radio, but I got goosebumps up and down both arms.
It's like I was talking about earlier when you access those memories.
Yeah.
Alex Whiteley said, now this is interesting. He says there's a geographical energy exchange too. People in London look down and barely acknowledge each other. People in Shropshire couldn't be friendlier. Why is that?
I mean, my only explanation, it's the way it's always been. And culturally, we are very different. And I'm part of that radio station over in the UK, and they've told me a number of times, you can drive 25, 50 miles or kilometers, and people will be totally different, town to town, village to village. Yeah. It's just the way they've always been. Some are much more quiet and reserved. Some are very friendly no matter where you go.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of recognizing it, meeting people where they're at. And like I said, for me, I just try to go 5% above. And if I can create a little shift, that to me is a big win, because I never know how far that ripple will go.
Yeah.
But I've been around people who, even in my DJ days, I was DJing a corporate event one time, a lunchtime outdoor barbecue, and a gentleman walked past and he had a very grim look, serious look on his face. I said, "Sir, is there a song I can play you?" "No." I said, "It'll brighten up your day. Don't want it brightened." And I knew then, I go, "Steve, shut up."
Right.
Let him walk past, let him go get his bratwurst and his corn on the cob, and just leave him.
Yeah.
And find somebody that's a better fit. That's all.
Yeah.
Nothing against him.
Yeah, of course.
That's his world. It's not for me to try to change.
Yeah. Huey the Gecko is in the chat room and says, "Great guest, Matt. Steve, acts of kindness. Amen. Keep on, brother."
Thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, he's a very positive guy himself, Huey the Gecko.
Nice. It's a blast.
He also, I was going to say, he says, "Well, actually, I believe that is because Shropshire borders Wales, Welsh influence." Oh, in terms of friendliness?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know if I'm even saying these names correctly. But Alex Whiteley says, "Steve needs to revolutionize New York, bringing back the smile. Haha."
I've been to New York. I performed stand-up comedy twice in New York City.
What's that like? Because I would imagine if there's one place where they'll eat you alive if they don't like you, it's New York.
Well, should I tell the experience of the time I was wearing a Red Sox jersey?
Go
in
on.
the comedy club?
Yes, I'd like to hear that.
It wasn't even intentional. I mean, a friend of mine, a Boston comedian friend, and I decided, let's hop a train, go to New York City.
This doesn't end with you getting a beating, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay, good.
No,
Just
no,
making
it's-
sure.
It's got a good ending.
Okay.
And so I wore what I always wore
Yeah.
in Boston, which was a pair of jeans and a Red Sox jersey.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think of where I was going. And so we hit a couple of the clubs, and the last club we played, I can't remember if it was the Comedy Cellar or which room it was.
Yeah.
But I was comic number 32 out of 34.
Yeah.
So it was the end of the night, very late. The audience was very drunk, and they were very mad at the comedian before me, who was very angry towards the audience.
Oh.
Went over his time, got his mic shut off. He jumped up on the piano and just started screaming at people. And then they announced me.
Yeah.
And I walk up and I said, hey. And some guy from the back goes, hey, Boston. And I said, 2 World Series so far this decade. And he goes, we got 27. Shut up. And then I just broke character and I said, hey, I'm just going to be honest with you. First off, ton of respect for the Yankees. Jeter and Posada could have played alongside Ruth and Gehrig. I said nothing but respect. I go, I'm just the moron who got it on a train in Boston wearing what he wore at clubs in Boston.
Yeah.
And they were cool the rest of the time because
Yeah,
I showed respect. I wasn't doing it to be a jerk.
Yeah.
I just didn't think.
Right.
So even in a situation where things may not potentially go well, you don't have to make it worse.
Right.
Just throw yourself on the sword a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say, hey, I made a bad decision, but I'm here to help you laugh a little bit and forget about your day.
Yeah.
And some people came up at the end and they go, nice recovery, because we'd have destroyed you if you were here to attack us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were really cool with it.
Yeah. That's good. You went there twice to New York to do that?
Twice. Yeah. The other time went well.
Yeah.
It was, as well as could be expected.
Yeah. See, I wondered because I listen to some of these podcasts. Well, not so much lately, but some of these the way comedians from New York, the way they talk about the like not the really famous people, but people who are still on that level where they live in New York and they're playing New York a lot and they're kind of local. Like I don't know if you ever listened to Kevin Brennan.
No,
You
I'm not
familiar with
familiar.
him?
I'm not as familiar because
Yeah.
I'm unplugged from the community, so I'm not as aware these days.
But yeah, they make it sound like it's the most brutal place to do stand-up comedy, which makes sense. I mean, it's New York City, right?
It can be. Well, we just talked about the difference of the cities and towns and villages and the energy.
Yeah.
New York is a very in-your-face city.
Oh, yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
The people they're very direct, they're very blunt. I mean, ride the subway in New York. I would struggle. I would just sit there with my head down saying, I'm not from here. I'm not from here. I'm not from here. I'm a victim already. But it's just different. And you adapt.
Yeah.
If you can adapt, you can survive.
Yeah.
And you can learn some skills and toughen up.
Yeah.
And go somewhere else. Whereas I used to do a lot of shows here in Manchester at some of the bars. They would have open mic nights. Totally different from the bigger cities or the more high pressure. Boston was very different. I played the Comedy Connection at Faneuil Hall several times.
Yeah.
Very different show there as well. So it's just read wherever you are, read the room.
Yep.
And figure out the best way for you to inject your energy into the room. Because I'm not a conflict or in your face person.
Right. We have a call. We'll see who's on the line here. Hi, welcome to Matt Connerton Unleashed. Who's this?
Oh, I thought that the people were nice in New York every time I've been there, and at least we're still allowed to do comedy.
That's true. What's up, Dave?
Well, a couple of things, but I noticed for the last hour you had a guest, so I wasn't sure if I could call in and talk about it, but there is some New Hampshire news that is worth talking about.
Oh, can you hit us with that tomorrow, Dave, in the first hour? Would that be possible?
I can attempt to.
Okay, wonderful. And I still want to have that Free Talk Live conversation too. But yeah, if you can buzz in tomorrow during the first hour, that would be perfect.
I may be able to do that.
Okay, if you can, you can. I appreciate it, Dave.
All right, thanks.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Dave's got a great voice.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I just hear him on the phone even. I go, Dave's got a really good voice.
He does, yeah. It's about 5:30. I should hit these commercial spots. Do you want it? Can you stay till 6? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm really enjoying the conversation. So if you're just joining us, we have Steve Gamlin here. We should take a brief moment to show some love to our amazing sponsors. And then Steve's going to stick around for the rest of the show. So we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria. For delivery, call 603-782-8450. Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town. 1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Best cocktails around. Come in as friends and leave as family.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
WMNH, rip the knob off.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is Matt Connerton Unleashed, and we are live as we cruise into our final segment today here from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Monday, July 24, 2023. And joining us at the news desk, he's a radio guy himself. Steve Gamlin is here.
Having a blast.
And he's a motivational speaker and former stand-up comedian and lots of stuff. But if you'd like to join us today, Steve has agreed to stick around to the end of the show, which I'm very happy about. I thought that might happen. I knew we were going to get to talking, and then I was going to end up trying not to let you leave. But if you'd like to enter the discussion, 603-250-6007. 603-250-6007. 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. I'm on social media at Matt Connerton. You can email me, matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. So while we were in the commercial break, a name came up, Mike Morin. And Mike has been on this show. It was 2 or 3 years ago now, but it was he had just put out a book about his radio career. And the name escapes me, but
50 Shades of Radio.
50 Shades of Radio. Thank you. Yes. And I know he's written at least another book since then, but I think about bowling, but 50 Shades of Radio. Yes. Great book. And I was so excited to have him on. He'd already been on the morning show. He had done the morning show with Peter White, and then he agreed to, because I think that's where I got the contact from. And then he agreed to come on my show as well. The reason I was excited to talk to him was I used to listen to him when I was a kid. I used to listen to, now it's Jammin' 94.5, but when I was a kid, in the 80s, it was WZOU.
Yes.
And I used to listen to, they called it the Boston Morning Zoo. I think they were using that name when Mike was there, but it was Mike and a guy named Brad, and I don't remember Brad's. So I used to refer to it as the Brad and Mike show, but I know it's not that.
Yep.
What did he say it was? The Krantz?
It was Brad Krantz, so it was Morin Krantz.
Oh, right. Morin Krantz, yeah. But I used to listen to that, and I was such a fan, and I think that actually is part of what, probably a big part of what sparked my interest in radio. I was such a fan, I would do the thing where I had the tape deck set up, and I would record whenever they would do any kind of a sketch, any kind of a bit. I would hit record, and I would record it. And if I liked it, if I thought it was funny, I would keep it. If it wasn't something that I thought was particularly funny, I would rewind the tape to the beginning of where that bit started. So I would, the next time a different bit came up, I would hit record. And if I liked that, I would save that. And so I ended up with, and my dad, he listens to this show. He probably even remembers this. I ended up with this whole collection of cassettes, and it was like my own personal best of collection that I'd made of that show. So, I would make mixtapes of music as well, like normal kids would, but the weirdo that I was, I would also make mixtapes of Mike Morin's show on WZOU. So that's, so then he came on the show to talk about his book, and I was like, I remember saying to him, dude, I'm sorry if I'm being like a weird fanboy, but you got to understand, you affected my childhood. It's talking to you. It's like talking to one of my rock and roll heroes. You know what I mean? This is surreal to me. Yeah. So, and just a super nice guy. Yep. So you know him much better than I do. It sounds like from what you were saying off the air, and I'd love to hear your Mike Morin story.
Yeah. Well, my very first job was being a copywriter at WCGY when Mike was the Morin in the Morning Show on 93.7 he started in the late 80s, but I got there in fall of 92. And each day I would be writing commercials, and I would bring them downstairs to each DJ. I said, okay, here's your production for the day. And we'd just, be talking or laugh a little bit. And one day Mike pulled me aside in the hallway and said, I don't know if it'll ever happen here because they don't really want to spend extra money. But someday, he goes, I love your work ethic, love your style. I really like your sense of humor, and I think you're a really good person. Someday I would love to have you as my morning show producer. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I had two angels named Daniel. Now I got one named Mike. Because that's what started me to what I really wanted to do in radio, which was the comedy, the humor, the being kind of the puppet master behind the show, doing everything that didn't require speaking. I did everything else. Yeah. Because I didn't have the guts to get on the mic. And within 3 months, they spent a little bit of money, built a little studio in between the on-air and the production studio. And Mike and Gary Levitt and the sports guy and the news guy would all be in there.
Yeah.
And I was on the other side of the glass being a morning show producer. I didn't get paid for that.
Yeah.
But it got me started to understand how to write comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where I was a national level comedy and song parody writer, kind of like Weird Al.
Yeah.
I was doing all the topical song parodies.
Oh, wow.
And I got paid for it, and I wound up winning that major award at Rock 101. So that conversation, and Mike is still a dear friend, and we always refer to each other as the other half. Mike would say, Steve is the other half of my brain. I'd say, well, Mike's the other half of mine. One of us could think of something from the other side of the glass. The other person would already hold it up, knowing where we were going. And we had this amazing connection. There's only two other people in the world I have that connection with. My wife, Tina, and my dad.
Yeah.
And Mike.
Yeah.
And that's it. So he's still a hero of mine and a dear, dear friend. And I just love the guy. And I'm in 3 chapters of his book.
Yeah.
One of them, actually, he asked me, he said, look, you've got a memory that rivals anybody's. Do you remember what happened when Skippy from Family Ties came into the show that day? And I got most of it right, including the name of the hooker who came in off the street during the morning show.
Yeah.
But it's just an honor to call that guy my friend.
Wow.
I still adore him to this day, and he's still a mentor.
That's really cool. Tom Blanchard is in the chat room and says his last book was If These Walls Could Talk, about the Red Arrow restaurant.
Yes,
that's right.
That's right. Correct.
I haven't read that one
Great
either.
One.
Yeah, I've only read the 50 Shades of Radio, but as a radio nerd, of course I did. Yeah. I think Peter read that too. Peter White from the Morning Show. I think I remember him saying he read that. Huey the Gecko in the chat room says, we say, Steve, could you do a comic tryout live on a podcast in front of a live crowd with a judge panel? You do something like a minute example, the Kill Tony comic show. You ever see that show, Kill Tony, on YouTube?
No.
It's Tony Hinchcliffe. He does I've seen it. I find it sounds like Huey the Gecko is a fan of the show. I've seen it and I didn't like it, but basically it's like comics go up and they sort of audition, like they do some of their best stuff, and Tony and the other judges, they judge whether the comic is any good or not. And I don't know. It didn't grab me. Not the most original concept. Obviously, others have done that.
That's not something I would do at this stage because comedy is so subjective, and that's just not where I'm at anymore. I didn't even like doing comedy competitions back in the day. I was in a couple of contests.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't my thing. I mean, I'm a very laid back. I always joke, I must have smoked a ton of weed in a previous life because I've never touched it in this one.
Yeah.
But I'm just so laid back.
Yeah.
In this life with everything, that the pressure cooker of stuff like that. It's like even speaking competitions in Toastmasters.
Oh.
I loved them there.
Yeah.
But when it got beyond to the very high pressure levels, and I did win a major one up here in the Northeast one time, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did on my own little stage with my regular crowd.
Yeah.
The pressure was just a little too much. And comedy now is so different from when I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. In what, like, how do you mean? Like in what regard?
Much more intense. It's a lot more violent and very over the top with a lot of stuff. And just the style of it doesn't really resonate for me anymore.
Okay. Now, can you talk more about the podcast? I don't think we've really talked much about that, like what that entails.
Oh, about my show?
Yeah.
It's called Motivational Firewood Radio Show.
Okay.
And it's basically a lot of the stuff that I share on social media every week.
Yeah.
Feeds the show that I do over in the UK.
Okay.
And then I chop off their beginnings and endings and their branding, and I pop it into mine, and it becomes my podcast.
Gotcha.
So it's really reflections on what I'm going through, learning, observing in regular, everyday life.
Yeah. How long have you done that?
Been doing my podcast for probably about 16 years.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the early episodes that I used to just hate to listen to, it's like my kindergarten version of a radio show, not with this voice or this confidence.
Yeah.
I listen back now and I go, oh my gosh, that's adorable. If you printed that out and put macaroni and glitter around the edge, my mom would hang it on her fridge.
Really?
Horrible.
Really?
But
yeah.
I had to do that.
Yeah.
To do this, just like you had your earliest stuff that you would cringe now probably if you listened to it. But we have to be willing to do that and then listen to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, the average podcast ends between 3 and 8 episodes and people bail on themselves.
Yeah.
And you're in the thousands of shows.
Yeah. I started, this show, I started, so I've been here at WMNH. It was 6 years in April, but I actually started it in the summer of 2011 as a podcast before I had the opportunity to come here. And my beginnings with I used to do, I started podcasting out of, there used to be a salon on Elm Street called Styling Souls. And I was working there as, I would rent space there to do hypnotherapy. Mm-hmm. So I was the on-site hypnotherapist, but I was only there when I had an appointment scheduled. So I wasn't an employee there, but they let me, but because I was, the manager, the owner trusted me and everything. So I could come and go as I pleased, and they let me do the podcast there. So I would use the computer there, after hours, obviously, when there was nobody around. Mm-hmm. I would use the computer there, and I had, for a microphone, because I didn't have any money really, I had this, those old, the Logitech microphones that you plug into your computer,
Yes.
but they're not even USB like this, because this was like middle to, I don't know, like 2006. They would plug into the headphone jack on the computer, and they sound terrible.
Yep.
But I worked with what I had, and that's like, if you go back and listen, and it is online. I don't hide any of my earlier work. Certainly. But yeah, if you go back and listen to the very first episodes of this show, in its original form, that's what it was. Honestly, for the way I was doing it and as low tech as it was, it doesn't sound that bad. Like, it's not like it's staticky or hard to listen to. It's just not, the quality isn't that great. And my voice was higher because, although interestingly, okay, has your voice changed in terms of if you go back and listen to earlier stuff? Because I've always been fascinated by this. Some people, as they go through their adult life, their voices continue to get deeper long after puberty, just, incrementally. And some people don't. Some people some radio personalities, it's like they sound the same at 70 as they did at 30. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by that. I'm sure there's a lot of factors that go into that. But is your voice changed?
A lot.
Yeah?
Mine used to be higher. I used to speak a lot faster.
Yeah.
I used to not pause and breathe. Those little things like breathing and pausing.
Yeah, yeah.
If you go back and listen, it was the energy was too high.
Really?
And now I'm just so matter of fact with everything, on stage, off stage, even regular conversations.
Yeah.
This is just how I come out now.
Yeah.
And I like this a lot better because I can have impact, and also with the pauses, let energy come back.
Yeah.
And let people think. I was talking about comedy competitions. The first one I ever did down in Boston, somebody said, "How did it go?" It's 5 minutes long. How did it go? How did it go? I said, well, I got through 5 minutes of material in 3.5 because I didn't pause for all that laughter and applause that usually gets in the way.
Right.
Higher voice and just raced through everything.
Yeah.
And got no impact with it.
Yeah.
So I learned, slow it down. And this is just how my voice sounds now.
Yeah.
It's just, I was very, very monotone when I was a kid. My mom used to laugh. She goes, "You used to sound like this. My name is Steve Gamlin. I live on Catalpa Street in Wakefield, Mass." She goes, "That's how I used to talk, like a robot." She goes, "Now listen to your Radio Man."
Right.
She still calls me that. She still calls me Radio Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, much different. And I really like how I sound now.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate it. I'm not saying that in an ego way.
Yeah. No,
I really
get it.
appreciate where it's gotten because I took the time and the effort to get here.
Mm-hmm.
We're all just a work in progress. for
Oh,
everything.
absolutely.
We can't snap
Absolutely.
our fingers and get it because then how much would we really appreciate it?
Did you spend a lot of time when you were starting the podcast? Did you spend a lot of time going back and listening to yourself? Because some people can't. Like I've talked to people who will say, "I cannot listen to myself."
Yeah.
But how else do you improve and get better if you don't? Like I force myself to listen to myself, and sometimes I don't do it every day. I don't have time, but sometimes I'll play back the show, and if I felt good about the show, then it's fun to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
If I felt like it wasn't a good show, because I have, it doesn't happen a lot. Some days are better than others, but once in a while I'll have a show where I just go, "Oh, I don't think I had it today. Something wasn't right. I just didn't have it." And I'll force myself to go back and listen to that. And that can be really painful. Yeah. But I have to try to figure out, just forensically, what was it? Why did I not have it today? What was going on? And sometimes I still don't find the answer. I'll force myself to go back and listen to it. And it's like, because sometimes maybe the answer is just something about my energy was off, and it's not something specifically that went wrong necessarily. I just wasn't all there for whatever reason.
Yeah. And those days happen.
Yeah.
We don't just snap our finger and we're just on.
Yeah.
At any given time. A bird could have crapped on the windshield of your car when you got out to come and do the show.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about it, but you got that
right
in your head for when you go back out and see how many of his friends tagged you as well.
Right.
But I was coaching somebody Friday who was interested in starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, keep it short. Keep it direct. Know what you're going to say in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, and then listen back to it after you promote it. And they go, "Oh, no." I said, if you want to get better, I said, here's how I want you to listen to it. Get a pen and a piece of paper and write down, okay, that was good. Okay, I might need to pause a little more there. Okay, a little too fast. Okay, this. I said, it won't be perfect.
Right.
But if you identify the things that did work,
yeah,
and then you can do that, and then just get a little better, more confident for the next one. There's a speaker who was a former comedian named Darren LaCroix, and Darren was the 2001 Toastmasters International World Speaking Champion of that year. He was a horrible stand-up comic prior to that, and he will tell you that. I'm not talking out of school.
Yeah.
He has recorded every speech, every presentation, every comedy show he's ever done. He has the tapes of everything.
Wow.
And he watches them religiously. He said, I will put my collection up against anybody as far as how much. And people would say, Darren, I hate to listen to myself. He had an amazing line. He goes, hey, we had to listen.
Right.
He goes, so you go listen and get better. He went from lousy stand-up comic to world champion of public speaking.
Wow.
Because he did that. He became a student of his own game.
Yeah.
And he became a champion.
Yeah. No, that's what it takes. Yeah, it is funny when someone will say, oh, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. And it's like, but you're going to do a podcast.
Yeah. Tina has caught me on Sunday mornings. We're making breakfast, and the show I'm on in the UK is on every 6 days a week at 9 a.m. as a replay.
Oh.
And she goes, oh, that's a good song. What are you listening to? And then my voice comes on. I go, me?
Right.
She's
Yeah.
like, really? I said, yeah, but this is a really cool, fun show. I really had fun because I put the episodes together here.
Yeah.
And I send them the voice files, and they intersperse music around them.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it works. I just do the bare bones speaking parts.
Yeah.
2 5 minutes, a 3 minute, and 1 minute, which I add 3-4 minutes to each one.
Yeah.
And send them over.
Yeah.
And I said, this was a show I really enjoyed making. I just wanted to see how it sounded in its full form. And she goes, yeah, you kind of got a cool voice. She goes, you don't talk to me in that voice. I'm like, hey, babe, what would you like for breakfast? Would you like some French toast? Or would you like some scrambled eggs? She's like, oh, my God, stop.
Right.
It's too weird seeing your face and having the radio voice come out of it.
Right.
Because I'm not, it's not how I talk every day.
Right.
And would you like a foot rub this evening? That doesn't happen.
Huey the Gecko said in the chat room, Marlon Brando hated Broadway, said he would never want to do any other form than film. You get takes and close-ups. He hated Broadway and said he'd never do a live broadcast. It's tough. Alex Whiteley said, I had that with my most recent episode. Upon listening back through the edit, it was actually good. It's mad how we doubt our abilities despite knowing, quote unquote, how good we actually are. Yeah, my biggest thing is when I listen, I have verbal tics that I am not at all conscious of while I'm speaking, that I will hear. Actually, I'll tell you just a very quick story. The very first time I was ever on terrestrial radio, it was I was a guest on a show on a station in Concord called, I don't know if the show is still around. It's called Your Health Matters. A friend of mine, Matt Marcil, was hosting the show. He invited me to be on to talk about hypnotherapy. I was very young in my hypnotherapy career, so I was excited to go on. And plus, it was radio, and I've always loved radio. But it was my first time ever being a guest on somebody's terrestrial radio show. I went on. He interviewed me. I thought it went really well. He was very encouraging and seemed to think it went well. The next day, it was finally up on their website. They were like a day behind it. It had to air. It was pre-recorded. It was not live, but it had to air. Pre-recorded, and I was at work or something, so I didn't get to hear it when it aired, but it was on the website. I went to listen to it on the website. To this day, I've never heard the entire thing. I think I got maybe 5 minutes into listening to it. I was so mortified at the number of ahs and ums coming out of my mouth that I had no idea. While I was sitting there, I had no idea I was doing that. And I'm listening to it on my computer. And I swear, it's like I'm sitting there going, well, hypnotherapy is about, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but that's how it sounded in my mind. I think I got maybe 5 or 6 minutes into it. I had to shut it off. To this day, I've never heard the rest of it. Yeah. But even now, to this day, when I listen back to this show, see, I just did it. And we all do it a little bit. We all do it a little bit. And maybe I'm tough on myself, but sometimes it's like, oh, gee, I do it too much.
Yeah.
That
was a big part of Toastmasters for me, was getting through things like that.
Yeah.
The first manual in Toastmasters has 10 speeches, and there's a bonus one at the end. So it's all the most basic tools of how to be more comfortable and confident speaking. And the ums and the ahs are a big part of it. And I used to coach some of the other people on it. They said, well, how come you don't and ah like we do? I said, well, I've been at this a long time.
Right.
But all the ums and ahs is your brain and your mouth buffering.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you think the wheel is going, I said, we open up our mouth and we're pausing on a word looking for the next thing.
Right.
And I said, what helped me is, because I'm a very visual person, put them in parentheses. In your head, think the ah.
I like that.
But don't verbalize it.
I like that.
Because we try to go too fast and then it buffers.
Put it in parentheses.
Put it in parentheses.
I like that.
Sounds simple, but it helped me.
I'm going to use that
a lot.
I'm going to use
back
that
then. And some people said, Steve, when you paused and you looked right at us, that was so powerful. I go, you want to hear what my brain was thinking? Some of my most memorable moments, even on stage, speaking, that people will come up after and say, that was the most powerful pause ever. And if I've got a relationship with the person, I'll say, I'll give you the root of that cause. They'll go, what is it? I go, I had no idea what I was supposed to say next. So I just went eyeball to eyeball all the way across the room, right to left, and all the way back.
I like
and
that.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. We just need to be aware. That's all. And,
Right.
and if we're saying it a lot, maybe we just need to slow down a bit.
Right.
And reduce the amount of buffering. But put it in parentheses was just, it was a little tactic that just fell out of my head one day when I was coaching somebody else. And they liked it, and I thought, well, I'd never verbalized it like that before. So even now as a speaker,
right,
I remember if I catch myself doing an or an ah, it just snaps right back. Put it in parentheses.
Right.
And they don't know
exactly
what I was supposed to say next, whether I do or not. They have no idea. So just keep it quiet and let it roll.
That's fantastic advice. I'm going to use that. I'm definitely going to use that.
Go for it.
Steve, wow, it goes so fast. We're almost out of time. What do our listeners need to know about finding you, finding the podcast, and maybe they are in need of your services? What should, obviously the website, that's easy, stevegamlin.com, but anything else they should know about to reach you?
They can find me all over social media at Steve Gamlin. And no, I'm not the violin player from the UK. That's a different Steve Gamlin. Don't ask him about visualization advice.
Right.
But, big things for me are helping people with their goals. They're visualizing their goals. And now that it's coming back, live events.
Yes.
We're looking for speakers to share some time on their stages. That's a big push for this year, is getting me back out there. And there's information about that on a page on my website as well at stevegamlin.com.
Very cool. Very cool. I've enjoyed this so much, and I appreciate you being flexible about sticking around. Like I said, I had a feeling that might happen. We'd get to talking, and I do a lot of political stuff on the show and whatnot. It's nice to have a break from that sometimes and just do something really positive. And this has been wonderful. And you've shared some things too that, like I said, I'm going to use the advice about the parentheses. And see, I almost said but I put it in parentheses. So then I said it anyway to just demonstrate that I was about to. But regardless,
we have to paint the picture.
That's right. We
have to bust out the mental Sharpie and draw it on the big sticky notepad.
There you go. But no, I've enjoyed this tremendously, and I got a lot out of it. I really feel that I personally got a lot out of it, and I think the listeners probably did as well. So I appreciate
it.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. This was a blast. And I'm going to give you my favorite word to use for situations like this.
Yeah.
It was effortless. And that includes the people who chimed in, whether it was in the chat or on the phone. This was great. This was absolutely the highlight of my day.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean that 100%. This was wonderful. And all because wishing Jenny a happy birthday. And here we are. So, folks, take those actions.
Yep.
Say yes to opportunities, even if you don't know where it could go. Here we are.
Very good. Great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much, Steve Gamlin. And of course, if you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at my website, mattconnerton.com. And we're going to get out of here. And I have a closing song. It might be a little bit of an inside joke between us regarding an off-air conversation I think we had. But and that's going to do it for us for now, Steve. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'll talk to y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
If you